Hi there, I'm Steve Hughes, and welcome to this exercise on the neuro-linguistic programming technique known as anchoring. Anchoring is an incredibly powerful tool that will give you control over how you feel. It'll give you the ability to tap into emotions that you'd like to access in certain circumstances. You know, too many people live their lives in a reactive state. They act only as a result of external stimulus, and they feel emotions based upon things that are happening to them. Anchoring is the ability to move yourself into an emotional state that you choose to feel. It's you gaining control over your emotions and allowing you to act instead of react. So imagine, if you will, that anchoring is like a bookmark to your desired emotions, allowing you to return to how you choose to feel quickly and powerfully. If you implement and practice this anchoring technique, you will have with you at all times a very powerful toolbox of emotions that you can access simply and quickly as and when you need them. Now, there's a few steps in the process, and I'd recommend you go through your anchoring exercise when you're sitting quietly alone and without anything that could distract you. So please put your phone on silent, go and find a quiet, safe and comfortable place to sit before we get started. I'll briefly explain the steps in anchoring, after which I'll walk you through the anchoring process. There are some very important points to keep in mind while anchoring. It's very important that you anchor at the moment that you are feeling the emotion inside of you. You must release the anchor before you leave the peak state, not after you're leaving it. The anchoring of each separate state must involve a different physical anchor. So where you're anchoring this specific emotion using the tips of your thumb and little finger on your right hand, other anchoring would involve touching or squeezing other body parts, such as the top of your shoulder, under your arm, or any other location that you don't usually touch. You can also add in an audio anchor to the physical anchor. This could be a sound or a word that you say as you are hitting your peak physical state. Like the physical anchoring, make each sound unique to each anchored state. Step 1 of the anchoring process is the starting point, which we'll call the neutral positional state. You would sit comfortably in a neutral posture, which is sitting upright and balanced without any stress or strain on any part of your body, because let's face it, you don't want a sore back or sore neck interfering with your anchoring process. Step 2 is where you choose which state you want to anchor. And this requires that you think back to a time in your past when you recall feeling this desired emotional state. Step 3, you'll recall your sensory and emotional experiences that you can remember of that time in your memory, with the intention of recalling as much of the sensory aspects so as to enrich the experience of the state that you're going to anchor. In this step, you'll be identifying elements of the experience and intensifying them to heighten the emotional state, all while anchoring the emotion using a physical anchor. In some cases, you may want to strengthen this anchor by adding an audible trigger, such as a word or a sound. The physical anchor could be touching of two fingertips, such as your thumb and ring finger or little finger, or by pressing a part of your body that's not usually touched, such as lightly pressing the top or bottom of your forearm or the top of your shoulder. This physical anchor is applied as you begin to feel the emotional state inside of you and is held while the emotion is intensifying. If you choose to add the sound anchor to the physical one, you'll make the sound or say the word at the peak of your emotional experience. It's important that you release the physical anchoring and say the sound or word before you come out of the peak state and not after. The two final steps in the process are returning back to neutral and breaking state. Returning to a neutral posture and emotional state as you were in the beginning of the process, sitting in a calm and peaceful emotion and posture, and then you break your state by asking yourself a simple question such as, what does 3 times 12 equal? Or what are the capital cities of 3 European countries? This is to distract your mind from the anchoring process and the specific state, which we call breaking state. So let us walk through an anchoring process in which I will anchor the state of happiness with you. think of a joyful sound that you may want to use to reinforce this state. Perhaps something like a yeah, or a wow, or a boom. Choose a sound or a word that'll make you smile. Make sure you can sit somewhere peacefully with your phone on silent or where you won't be disturbed or distracted for 10 minutes. And let us begin. Take a deep breath in and a deep breath out. Take a moment to think back to a time that you felt happy. Can you do that? Can you think of a moment in your past in which you felt that real joyful state? Close your eyes now and focus in on when you felt this feeling of happiness. Take a few seconds to lock onto the memory of when you truly felt happy. Do you have a specific moment in your past, in your mind? Great. Now, clarify the memory and recall as much about that specific memory as you can. What was around you? What was going on? Where were you? Was it warm or was it cool? Was it loud or quiet? Do you recall what you were wearing at that time? Keeping your eyes closed, I want you to picture the entire scene as clearly as possible. Do you remember what the sounds were that were going on around you? Can you hear those sounds right now? Do you remember how you were breathing? Do you see now the scene that was happening around you when you were feeling the state of happiness? I want you to picture the scene as clear as possible. Do you remember how you were feeling when you were in that joyful state? I want you to feel right now those feelings of happiness again. I want you to feel them really bubbling up inside. Are you seeing the entire picture in your mind with you in the center feeling happy? As you're sitting here now looking down on your memory of when you were feeling happy, I want you to imagine yourself falling into the body of you in that memory. Imagine you're inhabiting it now with all the things going on around you. And as you feel this happiness inside of you right now, I want you to touch your right hand thumb and the right hand little finger and apply a little bit of pressure. As you're now in the center of this feeling of happiness, I want you to feel what you felt. I want you to see what you saw, and I want you to hear what you heard. Can you do that? Can you feel this feeling of happiness and all that's around you? The sensation of happiness that you're feeling right now, I want you to imagine that it's on a 5 out of 10 level of intensity. Can you imagine that? Imagine that right now what you're feeling, that happiness is 5 out of 10. Okay, great. I see it, you're feeling it right now, but I want you to turn up the brightness of the color. I want you to make the sounds richer. And that feeling of joy, I want you to make it more intense. Ramp it up to maybe a 6 out of 10. I can see it, I feel it, and then put it up to a 7 out of 10. Make it 7 out of 10 right now. Increase the vibrancy, increase that emotion, increase the feeling up to a 7 out of 10. Great. Now I want you to even amplify it even more. Feel the happiness grow inside of you to such a level that you can see it manifesting as a color. What color are you seeing the happiness manifesting as? Brilliant. Now keep those fingers touching. Now increase that color and the sound and the feeling to a 10 out of 10 intensity. Let's go crazy and turn the feeling up even more. That's it. Great. Now as you reach this peak state of happiness, make the joyful sound, and after you've made that sound, release the fingertips. Brilliant. And now begin to relax your body, and when you're ready, slowly open your eyes. Return back to your neutral posture, slow your breathing back to normal, feel your muscles relax, and take a deep, soothing breath in and release. And another breath in and release. Now, right, as you're sitting there, give me 3 types of cheese. That's just to break your state. Wonderful. Well done on your first anchoring experience. Take a few seconds to relax, and when you're ready, go through that process 2 or 3 more times. You can re-watch the exercise until you're familiar with the process, after which you can do it all yourself. once you've anchored the state 3 or 4 times, intensifying the peak state each time and using the physical anchor and sound anchor if you chose to add one, I want you to return back to neutral and break your state one last time. So that's right, after 3 more times, come back to neutral. Now, we're going to test the anchor. As you're sitting there in your neutral state, I want you to connect the physical anchor point, and if you chose to use a sound anchor, make that sound at the same time as you touch the physical anchor. Do it now. What happened? How did it make you feel? This should, if the anchor took, take you rapidly back to the feeling that you'd anchored. In this case, happiness. If it didn't quite bring you to the state as much as you'd like, repeat the process a few more times. As they say, practice makes permanent. It would also be a good idea to repeat this a few times for the first few days after your first anchoring sessions, so that you're rewiring your brain to deeply entrench the neural pathways that are connecting your physical anchor, and if you're using a sound anchor as well, to the intense state that you'd anchored. You should now be able to anchor other states using different physical and sound anchors as well. So have some fun with it. I'm excited to get your feedback on how your anchoring has gone, so please put your experiences into the comments below, and please like and share this video. Until next time, stay authentic to your greater self. All the best. Bye.